Welcome, everybody, to Dead Talk Live. And tonight we have writer-director Neil LaBute and co-star, same thing, Gia Crovatin from the upcoming movie House of Darkness that is releasing in theaters tomorrow, September 9th, and then available on video on demand Tuesday, September 13th. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you both doing?
Great.
Great. Thank you for having us.
It's exciting. We were chatting before we went live on the movie House of Darkness and how it is really, really good. I really enjoyed it. We're going to be breaking it down without giving away any spoilers. So let's get right to it. Now, Neil, House of Darkness is a reimagining of Bram Stoker's Dracula characters. When you were writing this script, how were you going to make your story stand out from the other similar stories that have taken this path?
Well, the good news with Stoker's novel is, it's been around for over 100 years and 120 years, and it's just such a strong original story that people have been able to pull it in all directions and create many takes on it, versions of it. And I years ago adapted Dracula for the stage. I worked on the Van Helsing sci-fi series, and we even went as far as having a female play Dracula in that. So it's one of those very sturdy myths that can take a lot of wear and tear. And so I knew going into it that we could look at a little portion of it. I always loved the Weird Sisters, and thought we could do something kind of a modern adult fairy tale. Adult sounds, that's a word you got to be careful with, but you could take it and do something fun with it.
I definitely agree with the fairy tale. We're going to get into that a little bit more in a second. Gia, you play Lucy. Lucy comes across as very modern as opposed to her sister Mina, who is more old-fashioned, old school. How do you explain the difference between those two sisters?
I think we made a conscious decision to have a specific history about these women and what their origin story was. And I think when we got there, we wanted to show the different kind of permutations and ways that women deal with men. So you have women who are maybe a little more old-fashioned, or maybe women who are a little more observant and cool and laid back, or someone who's just kind of waiting around ready to go. I mean, I think that there was discussions with Neil about just a general kind of Dracula backstory and what vampires are like and kind of all of that lore and what a life would be like if one were to be a modern vampire. And so I think that the conscious decision was having someone who was going to be this observer who's trying to kind of figure out, almost a little bit of a detective of what the actual situation is going on.
Exactly. Neil, you can't but not notice the costuming. Lucy, again, more modern. Mina, more period type dressing. How important was that? I mean, I picked up on it right away just by looking at Mina.
Right.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, when you have a small film, a chamber piece, there's four actors really in it, and it's kind of working almost in real time. It's not quite, it's not like one take, but it feels as if it's happening in the actual time that the story plays out. That people are going to essentially have one outfit, so that outfit's really important anyway. To tell as much as you can about those people. Gia has always been someone, I've worked with her many times, and she's someone who's very interested in what the character kind of builds her character with the costume. So that's important. You get a lot of feedback that other people are interested in what the costume designer has to say or you have to say. They bring in a certain thoughts. Some people have pictures even. Kate was very interested in a specific kind of look, and we incorporated that into it, and even dialogue wise, I went back and I wanted, there was a moment where Justin's character says, yeah, she's, you know what, she's just kind of weird, but that's what's fascinating about her.
Yeah.
I'm really drawn to her because you don't see anybody like her. She's not like the women at work. She's so different.
I think
And
there's a line he says, "I'm still trying to figure you out," or something along those lines.
yeah. I mean, he spends pretty much the whole evening trying to figure her out.
Now, you mentioned fairy tale earlier. Mina does come across in a very fairy tale like manner. When you were developing your version of Mina, what was the inspiration for that fairy tale?
Well, from Mina on down, it's a full moon hanging over a big house in the woods. It starts right from almost childhood fairy
Hmm.
tale. We've got the poster, the film itself opens with a title card that says "Once Upon a Time." We wanted to make no bones about the fact that this was happening within the framework of a kind of gothic story. So it
Hmm.
wasn't. There's I've always been interested in the dynamics of men and women and relationships and all of that, and this was a springboard to do that again, but through these kind of horror sensibilities. But these women are very special. They're very particular.
Yeah,
You can't just say, oh, here's three women off the street. I mean, off very particular streets, perhaps, but it's you're using them as kind of archetypes, and they're not just any woman today. It's a much different game you're playing. So
exactly.
everything, the cinematographer Daniel Katz wanting to shoot as much by candlelight as he could and firelight. Very particular things that helped create that whole world from the actors and myself and
Yeah,
the creative departments.
absolutely. Gia, Justin Long is so good at playing a variety of characters,
Mm-hmm.
okay? We see him in the beginning, awkward, he's trying to score, basically. He's trying to hook up with
Mm-hmm.
this girl. Um, what was it like working opposite of Justin and seeing him, do his thing? And especially that scene where you two are on the rooftop talking just before you started telling that story.
I I've been an admirer of Justin's work before this project, and I think he's a chameleon. I think he's a really versatile actor who has such incredible talent in so many different realms, be it horror, be it comedy, romantic comedy.
Yeah.
He can. I've seen him on the stage. I mean, he's such a talent. So, and I think something that Justin really does play well is the kind of everyman,
Yeah.
like the fill in for like the regular guy, the dude who just like wants to be here and have a good time. So it was fascinating to be able to with coming in with what I had going on in my mind and also feeling like this guy's in this house, he's in my house, like what's he doing? Using all of those elements. This was the first thing we shot post lockdown. It was April and May of 2021. We
Wow.
shot in an actual castle in Arkansas. I mean, there were so many weird elements. We're shooting 11 nights straight, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. It was all kind of this weird mixture of stuff. So, we're like walking around totally sleep deprived with face shields on, not, trying to cover ourselves. We didn't really have a ton of interaction. There wasn't like a lot of time to get to know each other or anything, but it was just jumping right in and trusting. And, obviously, Kate and Justin are incredibly capable actors, and they had been there and they were already setting this like really crazy, cool chemistry. Like there was a lot of stuff percolating, and I just got to kind of be there and witness it,
Hmm.
and then go right in. I
You,
mean,
you
when you're dealing
melded
with
right
that
into
caliber
it.
of performance, it's easy.
Yeah, you melded right into it.
Yeah, thanks.
She spent a lot of her free time, if there was such a thing, uh, just over in a corner with her because she has this big long monologue. So she's constantly like running that monologue, knowing that at some point I'm going to have to shoot this monster, and so she was great about rehearsing that because there wasn't a lot of rehearsal time, which
Well,
is
Yeah.
a shame.
actually, I was going to ask that, and I'll ask it now. It seemed like you did a lot of long shots, especially with that monologue.
Yeah.
Was that one long continuous shot?
Well, we cut into it because we covered it with a couple of cameras, but I could have easily. I mean, she could have easily run it. She ran it several times all the way through. She had it from beginning to end. There was no need to like, oh, I'll stop and cover it from another angle because you only know this much. She could repeat it probably still now.
I just remember the AD being like, "Okay, everybody, settle in. This is a 14-minute take. Here we go."
Oh my God!
And that's the beauty of now. You used to have to you would worry about running out of film. Now with digital you can really go on long takes if you have the chance and you have actors who can do it. So it's fun to let actors act and play with each other and not worry about making that chemistry in the editing. It's like real people really talking.
Yes, exactly.
There was a lot of talk, and everybody did admirably trying to get it all on camera.
Absolutely. Now, Gia, Justin's character, whose name is Hap, short for Hapsworth.
Hapgood.
Hapgood. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
He seemed a lot more comfortable with Lucy. More relaxed. Is that because do you think Lucy didn't talk to him the way Mina talked to him in these riddles and mystic fairy tale kind of a way? Lucy spoke to him as a regular person, and that made him feel more comfortable, while the way Mina talked to him really kept him on edge the whole night. Because his character seemed a lot more relaxed with Lucy than with Mina.
Interesting. Yeah, I see that. I see that there's a way that could be seen that way. I just think it's, there's a commentary on how men interact with women and how men interact with different kinds of women, and that there can be for certain people there can be this kind of game being played, or when a man and a woman get together, it's just two people talking and having a dialogue. And I think it's just being able to show how we shift and adapt to other people. And potentially there was maybe Lucy wasn't necessarily the initial object of his affection. And so he felt like he could let his guard down a little bit more. I could see that. That it's interesting that you say that.
He did float the idea that hey, if you two want to, are open-minded. So there was some sense of that, but I think that's interesting.
I think the alcohol was definitely playing a factor.
Well, that too.
I would also forward the theory that, and I think Justin was in this world because I could see it as we shot, that he was imagining that that the drinks were counting and anything that she might have put in a drink.
Yeah.
So it was stacking up that he was getting more inebriated by the time that he met Lucy. He was feeling a little looser with her, and so
inhibitions are gone.
And then more drinks come up when Mina comes upstairs, and so I think by the time he's downstairs telling his story, he's feeling no pain.
I totally agree with that. Now let's talk about the great Kate Bosworth. Okay, she is Mina. Did you write this with Kate in mind, or was it a process for you to find your Mina?
It's always for me. It's rare that I write for somebody because it's hard to make those things work out, and to wait the time for someone to be free. Or I have been in the world of in the theater, say writing for a person because you're doing a benefit, or you're adapting something for someone. But when it's just my own stuff, it's usually my belief that there are so many good actors out there that I could replace Justin, or I could replace Kate. I love what they did, but I could take Gia out and put some terrible idea, Gia. I would, but as well as I do how many talented actors there are out there. Damn it, right? Because you have to try and fight them for those jobs. But it's there's a lot of gifted people, and so when you write a character, you want to write that character as cleanly as you can for where that character needs to go, and then you just hope that an actor comes in and breathes a particular kind of life into it. And because everybody has their own sort of X factor, that's what they bring that's special to it.
Exactly.
If you didn't have Justin, who has this kind of boyish charm, I think on the page that character could have come off a lot differently, or put another actor in there, and you might not have given him as much rope as you do, because he kind of charms you a little bit, in a way that another actor might not. Another actor might have tried to play it. I'm going to play it really sexy or really brooding, or whatever.
It would not have worked if the male Justin's role was an alpha dominant male. It would not have worked.
You wouldn't have had the same. You wouldn't get the same laughs,
exactly,
of watching this guy, with bad game, trying to sound like I'm just a super nice guy, and you can see a mile ahead of him where he's going. And part of the fun is knowing where the movie's going, is sitting back and going, I just can't wait to see, what's going to happen to this guy.
But sort of where it's going, but you don't know what the story is.
That's right.
And that's where the suspense factor comes in.
Yeah, and that's hopefully the fun of it. You've seen this kind of thing before, and you can look at it and go, "Hey, man, why would you go in that house?" But you know why he goes in the house. It's obvious.
Yeah.
He has one thing on his mind, and by the end of the movie, he has more than one thing on his mind.
Exactly. Now, Gia, here is the. For me, it's $1 million question, because we see it change. But how would you describe the relationship between Lucy and Mina? It changes throughout as the movie progresses.
Yeah.
But deep down inside, what do you see as their true nature relationship like?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sisters have a hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's always one who's dominating, and then there's the kind of subordinate, and how do we feel about that? And things can change as the night goes on, or as the situations go on. And I think there was an effort made about not just power structures between men and women, but power structures within the women themselves, and how this night unfolds. And I think that Mina has a lot. She says a lot about honesty and telling the truth. And, she's asking Hap, are you being honest, or is that a fib, or whatever? And so I think that there's this idea about truthfulness and honesty that is important for these women. And so Lucy might be looking at Mina at the situation that's going on and is like, are you being truthful right now, honey? What's going on here? Let's hold the mirror up a little bit more. So I think that, again, Lucy, because she's kind of stealth, she's all in black, she's a little more coming out of the shadows, she's an observer, she's a detective, she's figuring stuff out too. And I think that is also in the relationship with her sister.
That makes perfect sense. Now, we heard the story on how you memorized the lines and you had them nailed. What was the mindset that you got into to deliver that story, that speech, the climax where everything is revealed?
I think I come from the theater, and so the word of the writer is just it's golden, it's everything. And Neil is such an incredible writer on stage and on screen, and so I just wanted to make sure that I was honoring the words as best as possible. And in the situation that we were given, that monologue to me feels like it's my moment of sentencing someone. Basically, I'm going to give you this whole run up, and then I'm going to give you your sentence by the end. And so this is how, as if I were the judge, the morality judge, I want to honor Neil's words as much as I can, but I also want to, from my heart, tell you what I'm deciding about you as your fate, basically.
Exactly.
And that's kind of, you just have to use that as your North Star. And I was directed to just,
go with it.
Just to go. Yeah. It was such a gift.
Now, Neil, as the filmmaker, now that the movie is done, shooting is over, we can now openly say with Gia in front of us that that was the critical moment of the film. I know you didn't want to make her nervous or anything like that,
Oh, sure,
but the
yeah.
movie, that was the center on the top. If that scene did not work, then the movie doesn't work, and Gia nailed it.
Yeah, no
Um,
pressure, right? No pressure. You're astute about that, which is nice to hear because it's um, these movies have a certain expectation that people bring into them, and it's not always that there's going to be something emotional in it, and certainly not from that side of the of the playing field, and to have her tell the story as simply and beautifully as that, but also as movingly as that.
yeah,
um, you hear and go, oh, that's your backstory. Wow, that puts a whole different light on this, and it makes you rethink everything else that you've looked at, and think about what this world really is. You're right. If it doesn't work, the emotional climax of the movie is kind of not there.
it's not going to work. Now,
Yeah.
as a final question, Neil, I want to ask you this. Throughout the film, I was getting this sort of feeling of an underlying theme of like the relationships between men and women, not just today, but in the past, well, forever. And we see that progress as Mina, Lucy, and more surprises pop up. Was there an underlying theme that you consciously wanted to put in there in regards to relationships between men and women?
Again, part of it is you're filtering through that imagine whatever world that you imagine. And we talked a lot about what their backstories would be, and how that world works. And when you think about that myth again, and realize at the core of it, there's sort of that be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
And people always talk about eternal life, and wouldn't it be amazing to live forever? Would it be really? And these people are looking at eternity like that, and every day, like just again and again and again, and I bet they've had a lot of time to consider what it was like to be around, a patriarchy, and be around you being told how to do things, and suddenly they're freer in a way than they've ever been, but it's going to be perhaps forever.
exactly.
There's a lot to digest there,
It
and
is.
think about it. And is it every night that you bring someone? Even there's a moment where Gia first comes on screen as Lucy. You get this sense of like, I've walked in on something, not just walked in on something, but I thought I was going out tonight.
Yeah.
I thought this was my night. There's really a fun sistery thing going on there. So now I got to deal with this thing that you brought home, and what are we going to do with this? And it's a little bit of cat and mouse, and playing with your food, and there was a lot of just little fun things like that we tried to bring to the table that you don't always. We didn't want to go, let's do, what are the standards? Let's have fangs. Let's have red eyes. Let's see, have some, that they're going to change and have prosthetics. And it was like, we didn't do any of that stuff.
No, it wasn't needed.
This is instead, maybe this is what it would really be like.
Exactly.
So that was kind of fun to like create within the known world that everybody kind of loves, and I love it as much as anyone. To go, well, here's again a slightly different take on men and women, and a slightly different take on that whole vampire myth.
And of course, the 100-plus-year-old story, the infamous Dracula that will never die. It's just you can reshape it, remold it in so many different ways.
Because I enjoy the hell out of it.
So do a lot of people, and
Yeah.
it feels like you wanted to do this type of movie for a while, and you got the opportunity, and it came out great. Unfortunately, we got to stop here because if we continue, we're going to be giving away spoilers because there's some great stuff that we can't talk about without ruining the film. But before we go, Gia, how much fun did you have shooting this?
Oh man, it's the best job in the world. I felt like
on a scale of 1 to 2.
Once I finally got back my circadian rhythm, it was awesome. Listen, you have a job. It was a total a wonder, and I'm grateful every single day.
Now, for people wishing to see this in the theater over the weekend, just top cities, I'm assuming tomorrow, New York, LA.
I think New York, LA, and then it spreads out from there to
Okay.
fine cities across the country.
And if
And
it's
then
not near a
and
theater,
then and then days later it's on your Samsung.
exactly.
Samson.
On Tuesday,
Shockingly quick. It's now on your flip phone.
yeah, welcome to the year 2022. The movie's coming
Yeah.
out in theaters on Friday and available on video on demand on Tuesday. Check
On
it out.
Tuesday, yeah, it's
It's
amazing.
called House of Darkness. It's a great story, beautifully told, beautiful cinematography, the lighting that we didn't even get into, the costuming, just a great story, great set, great directing, great acting. You guys did a brilliant job. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing just a little bit of the story. Guys, check it out. It's called House of Darkness. I want to thank my guests, Neil LaBute and Gia Crovatin, for coming on here and sharing. Thank you to our viewers, those who are watching live and those who will be tuning in later on to watch this. On behalf of Neil, Gia, and myself, stay safe, stay walking. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.